Hello and welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tashiana, but you can call me Tashi because that's what all my friends do, and we're friends now. I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband Joshua and our two house kittens, actual cats, not humans, Minerva and Astoria. And this is my corner of the internet where we talk about all the things that I'm making, whether I'm knitting or spinning or sewing or potentially weaving. It is just fiber joy and wool chaos all the time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on the thumbnail. There are a million voices vying for your attention on the internet, and you saw whatever this is and decided to give it a go, and that makes you a rad human. If you're a returning viewer, you already know what time it is. Welcome back to the channel. Hello, friends. Hi, welcome. I have a fair bit to talk to you about today. I have two finished objects. I have practically a finished object. I have several cast-ons because we are having a bit of Castonitis in Starlight HQ. I have a few things that I brought in that I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to talk to you about a video game, and then that's it. That's it. So that's the point of the podcast today. We are doing a very classic update style episode because I do have a few things to update you on. I don't know how long I'm leaving this sweater on, so we're going to talk about this first because I am already hot. Jeez. I'm going to talk about this first, so let's get to work. Let's start right up top with finished objects. I'm wearing one of them, you guys. Oh, you guys. Old hats will know that I've talked about this sweater on this channel at length several times. This particular sweater has come up on this channel several times. Well, it's finished. I'm wearing my Metamorphic by Andrea Mowry. I finally finished it. It has been on my needles. Well, it was on my needles for 1,155 days. And I've talked about this at length, so I'm not going to rehash the entire sweater saga, but the short version is I spun my contrast color, I cast it on, I did everything, I got to the bind off, I did the 2x2 rearranging for a tubular bind off, I did the sewn bind off, I did it too tight, I put it on my body, I instantly broke it, I cried, I put it in a project bag for 2 years. That is the condensed version. There are lots of other things happening. I did attempt to pick up the bind off. I failed. A bunch of people told me they would do it for me and I never followed through. And then I was like, well, maybe if I just knit sleeves, then I'll have the energy to get it done. And then I didn't do that either. And then fast forward to 2025, which is the year we're in right now. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to get languishing projects off my needles. They're either going to get finished or they're going to get frogged. So this is the year where things are either going to get finished or they're going to get frogged. Something's got to give, especially for things that have been in my needles since 2022. And one of the people in my Discord server, all the places that you can find me will be linked in the description box. My Instagram, Ravelry, the invite to my Discord server. Also, if you want to support the channel, the link to my Ko-Fi is there, and all affiliate links that I have are also in the description box. All the places that you can find me will always be there. I do not promise to always remind you or remember to remind you, so like, they're there. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. So one of the folks in our Discord server, hi Summer, was working on hers. And I had started a channel called The Whip Down. And the point of the channel was to find something that has just whatever your version of languishing is. Some of mine have been languishing for years. So whatever your version of languishing is, pick it up, put some rows on it, and let's get these things done. And so she had picked up her Metamorphic, and I was like, oh, I have one of those. Like, I actually have one of those. And so I finally got it over to a dear friend of mine to fix my bind off, and she gave it back to me with all the ripped up portions pulled back, and I managed to salvage a bit of yarn. And I picked it back up. And I think I shared it on the podcast, actually, after she'd given it back to me, and I'd had an itty bitty bit of a sleeve done. Well, this was my morning knitting for multiple days over the last week and a half, and it's done. We have two. Oh, that right here. Oh, here we go. Here's a little mistake because I was knitting on this in the middle of the night and I screwed up the slip stitches and I was going to rip it out. And then someone told me that like leaving mistakes in your knitting is how you let your soul free. And I was like, oh, I love that myth. I love everything about that. And also I could duplicate stitch that, but now I'm not. So there's a little bit on my sleeve that went a little bit awry, but this right here, wow, that's beautiful. So yeah, so I did finish my Metamorphic. I did what I said I was going to do, which is I bound off all of my stitches knitwise. I saw this on a Tori Yu pattern. I'm sure other designers do this, but I saw this on a Tori Yu pattern where her instructions for the bind off are to bind off the stitches knitwise. Normally I bind off in pattern. I'm not messing around with sewn bind offs anymore. It's not for me. I do them wrong every single time. Either they don't look good or they break. And I'm wondering if part of the reason they don't look good is because I'm doing them in reverse. So I'm wondering if there's a universe where if I flip my knitting inside out and do it on the wrong side and then flip it right side out, if they'll look the way they're supposed to. But they never look the way they're supposed to, and they require too much effort. So I'm not doing them anymore. So I've always just been binding off in pattern, but I saw Tori had an instruction where you bind off knitwise. So you bind off all your stitches knitwise, and that's what I did here. So I'm having some slight flaring at my cuffs, which I like. So I have like fun sensory processing issues. I don't want anything too close to my skin. So I have, instead of having a tight fitting cuff, I have this little bit of a loose cuff situation, which I understand might not be for everybody, but I really, really enjoy it. It works really well for me and for my body and for my sensory needs. So that's what I did. I bound off all my stitches knitwise, and I did the same thing on my body. I'm actually gonna stand up, so we'll see. So here's my sweater. My belly button is literally right here. This is where my belly button is. I cannot scooch any further back or I will fall. So here's what you're gonna get to see. So yeah, my belly button is right here, and I knit this full length. This is a 12-inch or 12.5-inch body. That's how long I knit this, and it is still cropped. The joys of being a giant in the wild. So even though I knit this to a 12-inch full-length body, it is still cropped. Good thing I like wearing all my sweaters cropped. I was actually talking to Jamila at Brooklyn General the other day about like, are full-length sweaters the vibe for me? Just with the way I style all my clothes, cropped sweaters, not like super cropped, like this does still cover my navel, so not super cropped, but like a more cropped sweater is better fit for me than like reaching high hip. That's not necessarily my vibe. Also, it saves me like 2 to 3 inches of knitting on everything, because just long body, long torso, long legs, long everything. Yes, so if this is your first time seeing this sweater, I didn't give you any details. So again, this is the Metamorphic by Andrea Mowry. I knit the 48-inch size, which is intended to give me 3 inches of positive ease. Once I block this blocked out to 49 inches. So I have just about 4 inches of positive ease. I wear a sports bra or I bind most days. So I actually have a little bit more ease than intended when I pick the size, which I actually think works for me. It works for how I style things these days. I really like the fit of this round yoke. I know round yokes are not for everybody, but something about the way Andrea, I don't know if it's every Andrea Mowry pattern, because this is only one that I've finished. So I don't know if this is every Andrea Mowry pattern, but the way she fits a round yoke fits my shoulders really, really well. I don't have any puckering. Like, all of the seams lay really nicely. I don't think the neckline is too wide. Like, the neckline sits really nicely on my shoulders and on my neck. And I made no modifications besides the bind off. I knit this exactly to pattern. Everything about this is a forever, everyday sweater. My main color, which I've talked about before, but if you're new here, my main color is Nightshades in the color Last Call, and my contrast color is hand spun, and there's a hand spun combo spin of Woodland Lights and Fountain Mosaic on Tazhi by Three Waters Farm. I was like, I know all this stuff. I don't have to look this up. I had talked about potentially playing Yarn Chicken on the episode where I mentioned this. I wasn't even close. Actually, I'll go get my leftovers so you can see how much yarn I had left over. Psych! I'm not gonna show you my leftovers because I have no idea where they are. I like caked everything up and I put it aside to like show it on the podcast, and I have no idea where I put it. But I am gonna pull up my Ravelry notes because I can tell you exactly how much yarn I used in this. So my contrast color, I spun 8 ounces, and I spun them super light fingering, and they bloomed really nicely. Spin Cycle says it's sport weight. They're lying. It's fingering weight. And I spun a light fingering that bloomed to a like standard fingering weight. It was 16 wraps per inch once I was done with it. I ended up with 1,010 yards over 8 ounces, which is psychotic. That's so much yarn. And I used 510 yards for my contrast color, which means I still have another 500 yards of this to do what with. And then I used 675 yards or 270 grams of the Nightshades color. So this whole sweater weighs like 350 grams or something like that. It is so lightweight. I love working with woolen spun yarn because the sweaters weigh nothing. They're like light as air. This literally weighs nothing. The only reason I'm gonna have to take it off is because I'm starting to sweat. I'm starting to glisten a little bit. Ignore like my shiny forehead. But this literally weighs nothing. I've been doing a lot of like thinking about my row gauge because I understand that designers put a 10% buffer or something like that to account for swatching and to account for like row gauge issues, but I am routinely coming way under yardage, like way under yardage. So I used 270 grams, which means I have an extra 30 grams of my Nightshades color, and I was concerned about playing Yarn Chicken, and I have 30 grams left, so not even close. Now, my sleeves are bracelet length. They are, I mean, when I bend my elbows, they're a little bit shorter, but like when I'm standing, they're about bracelet length. And I made them not this way on purpose because I need to be able to look at my watch all the time. For those who don't know this, I'm a nurse and I'm literally always on the go and I'm always working, even when I'm not at home because I am in charge of the facility that I run. I'm almost always working. So even when I leave work, I'm sometimes still working. And so I don't want to always have to like hike my sleeve up to look at my watch. So I have decided to knit my sleeves so that every time I pick up my arm, I can instantly look at my watch and I don't have to mess around with rolling my sleeves up. Also, again, sensory processing things. I don't want things too low. So I've been knitting. I figured that bracelet like sleeves is a good full sleeve length for me. Might not be for everybody. So what that meant was after I split for the sleeves, I knit the sleeves with the decreases to 16.5 inches. And then I did 2.25. I didn't do 2.5. I think I got impatient, but I think I did like 2.25 inch cuff. My sleeves ended up being 18 inches. To give me bracelet length sleeves. So I think for like a yoke sweater, I think 18 to 18.5 inches is my sweet spot. I have to figure out my numbers going forward so that I'm not always experimenting. I did try this on as I was working to make sure that I was happy with the sleeve length. I was a little bit concerned about how snug the sleeves were when I tried it on. And I shouldn't have been because Nightshades blooms beautifully. Like in the blocking, it really relaxed out. So all of my concerns about like my sleeve being too tight, it does spiral a little bit, but like my sleeves are not snug at all. Like I have so much room in the arm and this is not anywhere close to my underarm. So it is literally an everyday sweater. I would make this again. If I'm thinking about like the amount of work that went into this, I would make this again. It was an easy knit. I love the way you can play with color. I love my like darker, kind of low contrast, but not quite version. I would 100%, I would make this again. I would make this again in a heartbeat. Did not require a lot of knitting. I knit mine on 7s. And I think the pattern's written for 6s, but I routinely have to go up a gauge size. So like, that's not a thing that we'll talk about gauge. That's not a thing that like really like alarms me, but I knit mine on 7s and I did all my ribbing on, hold on. I knit my body on 7s. I knit my sleeves on 8s because I've learned going up a needle size for small circumference knitting is a thing that I always have to do. And then I knit all of my sleeve cuffs and my hems on 5s. So I use 3 different needle sizes, 5s, 7s, and 8s. And yeah, super happy with this. Would change not a single thing. Actually, I'm lying. I would change one thing. I would have gone down a needle size for the bind off on my hem. Because I think I bound this off on 7s because I was concerned about it breaking again. And while it's not flaring, it's coming straight down. And I don't know if I like that. I always wear my sweaters like doing, I mean, you're gonna have to pry the French tuck from my cold, dead millennial hands. I know all you Gen Z kids you out there make fun of millennials for French tucks, but you're gonna have to pry my French tuck from my cold, dead millennial hands. I almost always wear my sweaters with a French tuck, so it doesn't look like it's flaring, and it hangs perfectly straight. And I think there was a universe where I probably should have gone down a needle size for the bind off, but I was so concerned about breaking it again that I took too many precautions. So there's a thing I could do where I could run some elastic thread through the hem of it if it starts to bother me. I don't know that it would, but it's just something that I've noticed that my hem does not cinch in at all. It just goes straight down. But also, as far as sensory things go, that's not necessarily the worst thing. So I don't know that I would change anything about this. I have to wear this a few more times. I've worn it 4 times since I bound it off. I've worn it 4 times. I've worn it twice this week. It's such a fun sweater. And also it's been like 60 degrees in New York City. So it's like perfect weather to like throw on a wool sweater with no coat. So I've been wearing a wool sweater and like shorts, and like my Blundstones. And that's literally how I've just been out in the world. And I think I've worn this twice this week. I'm probably going to wear it again tomorrow. So as soon as I stop filming, I'm going to take it off and like air it out so I can wear it again tomorrow. But like, no, this is literally a forever sweater. And I'm so glad I have it done. Yeah, I can't say any more good things about it. If you haven't knit the Metamorphic, it's a great pattern, a really good canvas to play with color. And I'm really glad that I've gotten it done because it was on my needles for so long. And now we get to hang out. Finished object number 2, which should surprise no one because it was almost done the last time you saw me, is I finished my weekend Cami. This is a test knit for Amy Scher. They have, I think the pattern's coming out in June. So like you have a few weeks before you can get your greedy little hands on this, but you are going to want to. I will put up me wearing it here, this is so good. It's so good. First of all, the pure silk blocked out like a dream. I'm a pure silk convert. I will knit with this again. I will 100% knit with this again. It blocked out like a dream. It wears like a dream. Like, look at that. I will wear this. I'm saving the wear on the podcast for when the pattern launches. So I finished it, you guys, because I know, because I was testing it and I was talking about the testing deadline. So I finished it. I'm saving my wearing for when the pattern launches, because it's so good. It's so good. I love it so much. It's such a good pattern. I knit the size E, which is for a upper bust of 44 inches. I have a 43-inch upper bust, a 45-inch full bust, and I knit the size E. I'm like right between D and E for Amy sizes, and I like to err on the size of a little bit more E's than like negative E's. So I knit the 44-inch upper bust size, which is size E, and I did no bust darts because the pattern's written for 2 inches of like bust tissue, and that's what I have. So I did no bust darts, and I knit this. Talking about torsos, I think I just realized that Amy's torso is almost as long as mine for a crop length. Because I was looking at them modeling their version, and they knit their body, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure they knit their body to 11 inches, and theirs sits right at their navel. And I was just like, oh yeah, Amy and I both have freakishly long torsos. So I knit this 11 inches, and it sits right at my navel, which is exactly where I would want a tank top like this to sit. I did do all the I-cord edges. They potentially ended me multiple times. I took several breaks, like I said I was going to, but it is such a neat finishing. It's really good. It's really good. I have zero complaints. Would I make this again? I plan on it, actually. I have yarn for it. I will show you. I plan on making this again. I haven't yet figured out how this is gonna like fit into my wardrobe. I don't know that I'm brave enough to wear it by itself yet, but the 2 times that I've worn it under like oversized boxy button-ups. Like I get a lot of my button-ups from the men's section at Target, but it feels really like kind of like gender to wear an oversized men's button-up with like a sassy pink silk cami underneath and then like jeans. And that's literally how I've been wearing it. I imagine that as it warms up, I might be brave enough to wear it by itself, but we have not gotten there yet. So once we get there, I'll update you. But I'm saving the wear for when the pattern launches. But yes, would I make it again? 100%. I loved this. I loved everything about this. I loved the construction of this. It was really clever. There's a fair bit of knitting flat. You knit 2 triangles, and then you knit some shallower triangles, and then you knit flat, and then you join it in the round, and then you knit your body. The only thing I didn't like was the I-cord, which I've said already enough times. How many times can I complain about an I-cord? Every single time it's in a pattern, I will complain about it. So heads up that every time an I-cord is in a pattern, I will complain about it. But no, brilliant pattern. My friend Mia Knit and Grace is like a huge Amy stan. And you know, Amy has always been on my radar, but I've just never finished a pattern. I'm a convert, which we will see and which we will talk about in a few minutes, but I'm a convert. Amy knows their stuff, This is just also such a good color on me. So yes, so here's finished object number 2. My weekend cami is done. Again, patterns coming in June, so I will be sure to update you when it's out. And I am an affiliate for Amy's shop, so if you decide to get any yarn for this particular pattern and you want to support me and the channel and the nonsense that I do here, my link is in the description box. I did get my pure silk from their shop, and I did buy this with my own money, and I would 100% use this yarn again, which again, we will talk about. Okay, so that's it for finished objects. Let's do whips. So we're having a bit of spring castonitis. We are. If you haven't watched my previous video, I will link it. It was all about my spring knitting plans. And I did get 2 of those projects from my spring knitting plans on my needles. And one of them is potentially ready to hop off my needles. Actually, we'll probably hop off my needles tonight. Did I knit a sweater in a week? Yes. Is that sane or rational? No. Have I been sleeping? No. So like this is insomnia driven. Also, this is insomnia driven test knit anxiety because I had plenty of time to work on this. It is not Michelle's fault that I am scrambling to get this done. I had plenty of time to work on this. I didn't cast it on. Then when I was ready to cast it on, I had that carpal tunnel flare up, so I couldn't knit for 2 weeks. And then when I could finally knit again, I should show you the thing because you'll understand. Let me stop talking, I'll show you the pattern. So this is the Anacortes Pullover that I'm testing for Michelle of the Not the Worsted podcast. I think Michelle's screen name is Mishi Friends. And here's my Here's my pullover. It's almost done. It's gonna be short sleeve. That's why I'm like, it's almost done. I've done one sleeve and I just have to do the ribbing and then pick up the second sleeve. And this first sleeve took me an hour and a half. I listened to like 2 podcast episodes and I was done. So like, this is getting off my needles today. So part of the reason why even when my pain was reduced, I couldn't work on this is a 2x2 broken rib with twisted rib detailing. So it is so much more wrist involvement than just knitting stockinette. And like, I had to wait for my hands to like settle down for me to work on this. And then again, the insomnia kick in. So now I have a sweater in a week. Oh my God, it makes me so happy. This yarn is Newburgh Yarn Co. British DK in the color Fox Aura, and I did unbox it on this channel, and I did say that I was using it for the sweater, and then I showed you the swatch 2 weeks ago, and now look at it. Look at it. All right, let's get in here. So I was a little bit crazy, and I did not alternate skeins. I was like, this all looks okay. And listen, the universe was kind. It is all above board. I will say, I picked up the sleeves, and I just had to start a new ball because I've used this pattern, again, I checked my gauge multiple times. My row gauge is pretty spot on for what Michelle said your row gauge should be. Row gauge in this pattern is 32 rows, and my row gauge is between 30 and 31. So I'm off by like 1 row, but like not enough that I think that it should matter. The body of this sweater only took me 3 skeins. I actually joined the 4th skein to do 1 round of ribbing, 2 rounds of ribbing in the bind off. So the body of this is the 48, 49. Either the 48 or the 49, I can't remember. Either the 48 or the 49 inch size. The body of this only took me, I think there's 246 yards. So 750 yards. It's crazy. It's crazy how much, like I kept going, like at one point I was telling the folks in the Discord server, when I finish my 3rd ball, I'm gonna go and do sleeves. And then I kept waiting to finish my 3rd ball, and I finished my 3rd ball at the hem. And I said, okay, I guess I'm finishing the body of this and I'm gonna go do sleeves. Like the yarn felt like it went super far. Like it felt like my yardage went super far in this sweater. It's so squishy. This fabric is incredible. The British DK is a BFL Massam blend. I think it's the same blend that's in the Sunday Morning DK. Although I have some of the Sunday Morning DK, this feels squishier. It feels like plumper and rounder than the Sunday Morning DK, so maybe it's not exactly the same base, but I know that like Max the Knitter, his yarn line Les Garçons, also has this BFL Massam blend, so there are multiple people that have a BFL Massam blend. I don't know if Kim sources hers from the same place they source theirs. I do have the Yorkshire DK, which is like a Polworth Massam blend, which I will also be playing with at some point. But it is so squishy. Also, because of the BFL in it, it has like luster. Did I say that this is the color Fox Aura? This is the color Fox Aura. It's from Kim's Heritage of the Wild collection that she just did this year that I got like 5 weeks ago, and it's turning into a sweater. So I was saying the only color issue I have is my sleeve. Oh, actually, maybe I'm crazy. In person, the sleeve looks like it's a different color from the rest of the body. On camera, you can't really see that. So maybe I'm crazy. Huh. I was so sure it was a different color. It doesn't look like it's a different color. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind. So anyways, this sweater is so much fun to knit. So you cast on and you do half twisted rib. And honestly, this is the tidiest. This is the tidiest my ribbing has ever been. And I'm like, should I just do half twisted rib on everything? Like, it wasn't that hard to knit. Like I think full twisted rib would be the devil, but like half twisted rib where you just twist your knit stitches was not that hard to knit. And I really like the way it looks. And then the half twisted rib, this pattern is so clever. I love all the lines of it. I love all the lines. I love how like geometric it is. It's so good. So the half twisted rib continues. I was like, that's the word. Continues down your raglan shaping. So as you're doing your raglan shaping, and you're maintaining these 5 stitches of half twisted rib that separates your raglan shaping. And then the pattern is a 2x2 broken rib. Now let's talk about this broken rib. Okay. The 2x2 broken rib and my ADHD addled brain do not get along. I kept knitting this in the dark. So it is not the easiest way to read your knitting because I'm knitting this on dark red yarn with a little bedside lamp in the dark. And you think I would remember what I was doing, but I kept running into this issue because, oh, let's continue. Sorry, I'm interrupting myself. this sweater's great. I really like it. So you do your 2x2 rib, and then you do your raglan, and you're increasing in broken rib. Now I will say, the short rows in this almost sent me. It is 12 rows of short rows in broken rib with raglan increases. And Michelle holds your hand the entire way through. And thank God she did, because otherwise I would not be able to do this. There are line by line instructions for the short row shaping, which thank God, because otherwise it wasn't happening. And then once you do your short row shaping, then it's pretty much smooth sailing. You are doing your raglan increasing. And it's a really well written pattern. Michelle has it all laid out. It's so smart. It's so smart. So the raglan, the twisted rib line continues. And then when you split for sleeves, you get this like fun side panel where the twisted rib just flows into the side panel, and the underarm stitches that you pick up also have the twisted rib. And then when you go down, your hem is twisted rib. So what I was saying is my ADHD adult brain is sometimes when I would do you slip your marker, you do the 5 stitches of twisted rib, I would forget what I was doing. So I was like, is this a knit row or is this the ribbing row? And I'm knitting in the dark, so I couldn't really see what I was doing. And so there was lots of like, I hope I'm doing the right thing. And then like trying to like holding up my phone using the flashlight because Joshua was sleeping and I was knitting in bed. And so much of this was my own fault. But I mean, knitting in a dark yarn in the dark was like silly. But everything about this pattern is great. Oh, I have to show you one of my other favorite details. When you pick up the sleeve, am I doing it right? When you pick up the sleeve, the twisted rib continues, and that is so satisfying. Can you see that? Oh, you can't see that. The twisted rib picks up in the like underarm of your sleeve. Everything about this is so satisfying. I love the lines in this. I love the lines in this. I love how geometric it feels. I can't stop raving about this. I also did it this is 9 days of labor. 9 days for a 48, 49 inch bust. So there's a lot of knitting in here, and I enjoyed every single stitch. Working with this yarn is a treat. Working on this pattern is a treat. You guys are gonna want this. You guys are gonna want this. It's so good. I saw Michelle's working on a broken rib cardigan, and I was like, am I a broken rib convert? Like, is this a thing? Is this a thing that I'm gonna keep coming back to? I'm knitting this short sleeve. I would knit this again long sleeve. I would 100% make this pattern again, just as it is, just a long sleeve version. I'm making it short sleeve because I wanna wear it now. And theoretically I have enough yarn to make it long sleeve. I just want a version that I could wear like in the transition months. And I think if it was long sleeve, it would be too warm, but I would 100% make this again. I would make it again in the same yarn, just a different color, and do it long sleeve. She, for her short sleeve version, she recommended a more summer yarn. And I was like, no, I wear wool year round. What is this? But yeah. Can't say enough good things about the Anacortes. That's the name of it. It's the Anacortes Pullover, and it's still in testing. And I will update you when I'm finished and when it launches. Okay, so that's work in progress number 1. We're gonna continue with the things from my spring cast on plans, because a few people were like, you're gonna cast on like all of them and maybe get a few of them finished. And I was like, that feels correct. So I did cast on another one. And this is what I'm calling this my Glow Eva Glow. So I did cast on my Eva cardigan, and it's in the Peace Fleece color Lily Pad. I'm trying to figure out how to show this to you because this is an interesting construction. Hold on. How do I hold this up? Where are the sleeves? I think this works. Yeah, so here's my Eva cardigan. I've just started the raglan shaping. So I've, picked up my sleeves and I've started the raglan shaping. Again, this is the color Lily Pad by Peace Fleece. This is so finicky to hold because of the way it's done. So this is my first time working a contiguous sleeve, and part of the reason why I'm making this cardigan is because I wanted to try a contiguous sleeve construction because I've heard a lot of people say really good things about it. A straight raglan, like a compound raglan, works for me. A straight raglan tends to not always, and I wanted a cardigan that was gonna sit a little bit wider on the shoulders, and I didn't want it to be a drop sleeve cardigan, like a drop shoulder construction, and so a contiguous sleeve construction seemed to be the one that made the most sense. And then I saw the Eva cardigan, which has like a metric ton of projects, and I figured it would be a good way to go, and I had the yarn and I hit gauge. So I'm knitting mine on size 7s. This is written to be knit on 6s, but I'm knitting mine on 7s. And honestly, this contiguous sleeve situation threw me for a loop. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, petite knit knows how to write a pattern. There's no way everyone and their mother has knit a petite knit pattern if she can't write a pattern. So I have to just follow the instructions. I can follow the instructions. So, man, the instructions almost put me through it. So you knit, you pick, you start with what feels like a drop shoulder, and you cast on your stitches, you work your back increases, and then you stop early. And I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. And then you break the yarn. There are so many yarn ends in a contiguous sleeve construction. I've already woven all of mine in because it was making me nuts. So I did stop and weave in all my ends, but there are so many ends. And then you stop and you pick up for your fronts and you knit those. And then at some point, you're like, pick up stitches along this side and also pick up stitches along this side. And I was like, okay, what? And so whatever. So it took me a little, I had to read the instructions like 3 times. And then I did it and I was like, I see what you're putting down here. And so now you have your front, you have your sleeve, and you have your back. And so now you're working essentially a raglan, but the sleeve head construction is different than it's like a hybrid raglan drop shoulder. Which I think should fit really, really well. Now we're in the place where this is endless stockinette flat, and I don't know that I'm happy to be here. So I'm just doing my raglan increases. I am using a row counter to help me keep track because I can't remember anything. And so I'm just doing my raglan increases and I'm just gonna be knitting this flat. This is my book bag project until it gets too big to be my book bag project. But it's my book bag project because it requires very little thinking at this point because you're increasing every right side row. And the only difference is you increase the V-neck, some right side rows and all the raglan situations, and then some right side rows you just do the raglans. And so I can read my knitting enough to know whether I'm increasing the V-neck or increasing just the raglan. I'm doing a row counter to help me keep track of how many increases I've done. But at this point, this is basic. Like I can do this anywhere and it's small enough that I can pull it out on the train and just knit a few rows back and forth. Here is my cake. It is no longer as big as my head. It is considerably smaller now. Yeah, so again, this is the piece fleeced in lily pad and I didn't realize how many interesting color flecks this has. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you can't. It's not just straight green. Like there's a bunch of different weird colors in here. I think it's gonna, I don't know, I really like it. I really like it. Am I rowing out? Huh. Okay. Interesting. I don't think so. I think that's just the marling of the yarn. But I was looking at this, I'm like, I'm not rowing out in person. And then I held it up to the camera and I'm like, am I rowing out? Is that what's happening? It's not, I mean, from like here, it looks pretty even, but I held it up and I was a little bit concerned. So yes, so that is my Glow Eva Go cardigan. Glow Eva Glow cardigan. I've decided to give all my projects silly names. So that's my Glow Eva Glow cardigan by Petite Knit, which was the second project that we talked about during my spring cast-ons that is on my needles. Once my Anacortes Pullover comes off, I might cast on my Relaxed Tee. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Once the Anacortes Pullover is off my needles, I might cast on the Relaxed Tee. But I do have 2 other projects to show you. So this I don't have much to share because I just started it 2 days ago and I have not made much progress because I've really just been trying to get my Anacortes Pullover done. Since I'm so close to finishing it, I was like, I pretty much knit that practically monogamously. I was like, stick with the vibe and get that done. So this is all I have to show you. This is, I'm testing the summer session tank for my friend Sam. That's Samantha Guerin, but her name is my friend Sam. And I don't know, when I talked about knitting the study session, which I haven't finished, guys, it needs sleeves and a neckline, and I will finish it. Someone had commented that that would make a brilliant pattern for a summer tank. And I was like, yeah, no, that's actually really clever. And I should have known that Samantha can see things a mile, like she can see things coming a mile away because she did design it as a summer tank. And so she designed hers in Fleece and Flax by Sonder. And when I was talking to Sam about what color, I was like, oh, Sam, can I test this? And she was like, of course, honey. And then I was like, what color should I make? And we were going through this and I was like, oh, what do you think about Heirloom? And she was like, you were obligated to make it in this color. So this is Fleece and Flax in the color Heirloom, which is so far out of my wheelhouse. But I figured if I'm making a summer tank, I'm committing. It is very bright. It is very punchy. The name of this project is my Tomato Girl Summer Session because I don't know if you remember Tomato Girl Summer. I think that was like 2023. So like 2 summers ago, everyone was like Tomato Girl Summer and it was all like Italian Mediterranean vibes. Well, because this is heirloom tomatoes, I'm calling it Tomato Girl Summer. Even though this would not be Tomato Girl Summer vibes. This is too bright. So all I've just literally cast on the back and I've just been knitting this flat. I have 3 more inches of knitting this flat to go and then I'll pick up the fronts and I'll actually start doing some fun things. But this has just been, you know, every now and then I pick it up, I put a few rows. Once my summer session, once my Anacortes pullover is done, I'm gonna be really ready to go. I'm knitting this on 5s, which is the recommended needles. Sam is the only designer. I was actually just talking to Joshua about this. Sam is the only designer that without fail, if I'm knitting with the same yarn, and even if I'm knitting with a yarn that's close to what she's knitting with, I get gauge every single time. I almost never, I gauge swatch for this because it's a test knit and I think it's the right thing to do. But I almost never gauge swatch with Sam. I just cast on. For some reason, Sam is, well, not for some reason, Sam is just as tight a knitter as I am, and we have reliable tension. And as long as I'm using the same yarn as she is, or even close, I can get it. I've tested for Sam multiple times, and almost every time I've used the yarn she wrote the pattern in, and almost every time, no, yeah, every single time I've used the yarn that she wrote the pattern in, I have not had to change my needle size, which is wild because I always do. So anyways, this is written for 5s. The stitch gauge is 24 stitches, and I got 24s on 5s with my first swatch, and so I've cast this on. This is actually really fun to knit with. So fleece and flax is a BFL and linen mix. And it's actually really fun to knit with. Like, I was really worried about the linen stuff. The linen does come out. Like, if you knit with linen quill, is very similar to the linen fibers do poke out, but it's not like poking out and scratchy or uncomfortable to knit with. And I really, really like this. So I'm really excited to see what this does and what this becomes. But I have a very, very small beginning to share with you. That color, I mean, this is peak summer, y'all. This is peak summer vibes. Also, this under like a denim jacket to like tone down how bright it is is gonna be everything. So yes, here's my summer session. Bare beginnings. Got work to do. And my other sweater that I have, well, yeah, I guess it counts as a sweater. And my other project that I have cast on is another test knit, and this is for Amy because I just finished up a test knit for Amy. So I was like, why not test for Amy again? Honestly, I love Amy. I love working with Amy. I love Amy's design. I am an Amy Sure convert. So this is the humble beginnings of an Oolong pullover, the Oolong Tee, but I'm doing the long sleeve version. So is it a pullover? It's the Oolong. I'm doing the long sleeve version. It's bottom up, which if I ever have to cast on 312 stitches again, it will be too soon. It will be too soon. So you immediately cast on, and then you do 2.5 inches of ribbing. And like, there's a universe where doing that first and getting it out the way is like a good universe, but I don't know if that's the universe I live in. I was very grumpy about it. So I've cast it on, and I've just started working the lace. The lace is right here in the middle. If you're familiar with the Oolong series, it's just, it's now a series. They're familiar with the Oolong tank. It was a V-neck tank with like a leaf motif lace coming down the middle, and it was designed to be cropped. The sweater tee, I don't know what we're calling it, is a little bit more full length. So I think this has like a 13-inch body, and I'm going to knit this to pattern and get like a little bit of a longer sweater than I normally get. But yeah, now that the ribbing is done, the fun stuff happens. Now we're gonna talk about gauge. This Amy knit their sample on 3s. This is not the same yarn Amy used, but Amy knit their sample on 3s. And so I was just like, I'm just gonna swatch on 5s. I'm gonna go for it. I didn't get gauge on 5s. I had to go all the way up to 6s. It is a 24 stitch gauge, and I had to go up to 6s to get 24 stitches. Now I got 24 stitches on the fleece and flax, but this is knitting for Olive Merino, which is a lighter fingering yarn, and this is the color Dusty Petroleum Blue. This was provided to me as yarn support from Amy, so thank you, Amy, and thank you, Symphony, for getting this to me. This was provided as yarn support for this project, but this is the yarn I'm using. This is finer than the yarn Amy used for their sample, so there is that, but also like 6s for fingering weight yarn is insane. So I gotta figure out how to like relax my tension, because 6s to get a 24 stitch gauge is crazy. Yeah, so this is the color again, Dusty Petroleum Blue, which again is another color that's an Andrea color, Andrea at the Knitting PT. I've been trying to get more blue into my wardrobe, and I was looking at the colors available, and I was just like, ooh, I almost went with gray. And I was like, what if you added color? Like, blue is a neutral. So I went with this like nice, soft, dusty blue. You can't see much for the lace because I literally just started working it. I've knit 4 rows, so there's not much to show there. But I did cast this on Wednesday. I cast this on Wednesday, did my ribbing, and just started the lace. I'm telling you, once that summer, the Anacortes pullover is off my needles, the rest of these things I can really give some attention to. But I did want to at least get it on and get it going so that I could pick it up and work on it periodically. This is my first time working with the Knitting for Olive Merino. It's really nice, actually. It's really, really nice. I love a good yarn that's at a good price point and that's like readily available. And like everyone has Knitting for Olive Merino. So like I have no complaints. I really, really like it. I really like knitting with it. I just think it's comical that I'm knitting a fingering weight sweater on 6s, which is like DK weight needles for most people. And I'm knitting on 6s. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't know how I got here. I don't know how to get out of here. We're in the bad place. It is what it is. I've been talking to like some of my friends about ergonomics and like I've actually been thinking about switching to square needles so that I don't hold my needle so hard, to see if that helps. So I was looking at the Knit Pro Cubics and just getting like potentially just getting one set of square needles and trying to knit with them and see if that helps me like not hold on so tight, because like this isn't sustainable. Like long term, my hands are going to hate me. I gotta figure out how to relax my grip. There is no reason that I should be knitting a 24 stitch gauge with fingering weight yarn on 6s. There's no reason. So I really want to think about like long-term ergonomics, how I save my hands, just so I keep them, because I like doing this and I'd like to be able to do it for longer. But anyways, here's my Oolong Tee pullover that I'm making long sleeve. And I'm really excited about this. This is my first little donut. Also, I love yarn that comes in donuts. I don't like caking yarn. I do have the electric yarn winder. And what I do is I cake like 5. I wait till I have like 5 things that need to be caked up, and then I set it up and I do like 5 skeins at a time. But I do love yarn that comes in little donuts. So I can just go and I don't have to worry about caking yarn. Those are all my whips for the week. Let's do some acquisitions. So the yarn for my Oolong Tee pullover sweater was provided as yarn support, but while I was in the shop, I did grab some buttons because I wanted some buttons for my Eva cardigan. I'm gonna take these out. Sorry for the crinkling. I did want some buttons for my Eva cardigan, so I did get 6 of these. How do you show buttons? Oh no. Oh no, okay. I did get 6 of these. There we go, so that's how you show buttons. And this is gonna be for my Eva cardigan. So, oh no, I'm losing all of them. So this is gonna be for my Eva cardigan, and I wanted like a darker wood grain button for this, and I didn't have buttons that were the right size. So I figured since I was placing an order, I would get some buttons for my Eva cardigan, and I got some other buttons, and I'm dropping all of these, so BRB. Okay, those buttons have all been savaged. Once upon a time, I showed you my cream cardigan, which is still working. It's just like I only knit like 2 rows on it a week, so it seems silly to pull it out every single week to show you 2 rows. Once I finish the body and I split for front and backs, I'll show it to you. But it's a white cardigan, and look at these buttons. They're yellow with like flowers, and I thought this would be a really fun button for that cardigan. So I did get some of these. Yeah, there you go. There's a color. I did get some of these buttons from Amy's shop for that cardigan. So that's what came in. And my fleece and flax came in from La Mercerie. And while I was doing that, I did get something else. So I've yet to try the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino. So I did get 2. Are these like, I guess they're more t-shirt quantities than sweater quantities. So I did get this one. And this is to make a neutral weekend cami. So this is the color Oatmeal, and I got 4 of these to make a neutral weekend cami. Now my weekend cami took 2.5 balls, but it took 2.5 balls of the pure silk, and I didn't want to assume that it was a 1-to-1, so I figured instead of like not being able to get it later or having to get a different dye lot, I just got 4. And if I don't use all 4, then I'll stash to like stripe in something else, but I only used 2.5 balls. I don't know if I said this, but I only used 2. I think I used 2.6 balls for mine. So like 4 is probably overkill, but it was one of those things where it's just like, am I going to want to have to source this later? So probably not. And then I got this dark blue color, and this is the color navy blue. And this is to make a skyline tee for the PNW Flock U knit along. So Megan at A Naughty Mess, Ariel at Airy Knits, and Emily at Gently Chaotic Knits, the Pacific Knit West. They're doing a knit along for Flock using Tori U patterns. And so I got some of this cotton merino to knit a skyline tee for that knit along. So at some point between now and Flock, I will get this on my needles and hopefully get this done in time. Provided my mojo hangs out, this should be fine. The cotton merino is 70% cotton, 30% merino. So I think like a really good summer yarn. I've heard really good things about this. There's a universe where I don't gauge swatch, but I probably should because I've never worked with this space before. So I am going to gauge swatch. I'm gonna gauge swatch. They have the same stitch gauge. I think they're both 26 stitches. They have the same stitch gauge, so I'll just gauge swatch once and then it'll work for both of these patterns. Yes, so this came in from Shop La Mercerie, and I'm really, really excited about this. I love my pink weekend cami so much that I think having a neutral version is like the next move, like is the right move. So there we go, that's it. So I have 4 of each of these. The Skyline Tee, I think I needed 1050 yards, and these are 273. So like 4 is 1100. That's how math works. So yes, this happened. And on the Knitting for Olive train, I popped into Brooklyn General to get some notions. I needed some more knitting needles and a 22-inch cord. And I try to support local yarn stores whenever I can versus like getting them from like the Devil Bezos. Sometimes you have to deal with the devil, but you don't always. And while I was there, Jamila was like, hey, did you see that we have more pure silk in? And I was just like, no. And then this, look at this color. So this is Poppy Blue. And it's just so pretty. It's just so pretty. So I have enough to make the Moonset Tee by Ozetta, which is what I think I'm going to do with it. Either that or another silk camisole. But I liked working with pure silk so much that I couldn't pass this up. I couldn't pass this up. I never expected to be a Knitting for Olive like stan, but everything I've used from them so far has been great. Like I love their soft silk mohair. I love the pure silk. Knitting with the merino has been great. Hopefully knitting with the cotton merino goes well. It's like a solid brand. And again, I like a brand that's readily available, that's not like a super pricey investment. So yes, I did get 4 of these. And this is in the color Poppy Blue. They were cleaned out at Brooklyn General. They had cotton merino cleaned out and they were almost cleaned out of the pure silk. I guess this yarn is like, but oh my God, this is what I mean. Like I'm looking at it in the cake and it's splitting already. This is so loosely plied. I now know how to tension it and I know how to knit with it, but this is so loosely plied, But yes, fun colors. So here we go. Like, look at that. We're adding some like cool, if you remember my summer palette that I showed you last week, it was like all very punchy, like super gay, very punchy rainbow. If I add that orange swatch to it, like everything gets thrown out the window. But I think this is adding some like, not necessary, but like welcome contrast and like gravity to like my super punchy, very gay rainbow palette. Like if I add this in, I mean, who am I? Am I turning into the knitting PT with this? Like, are we entering the singularity where I become Andrea? But yeah, that's apparently my Knitting for Olive wheelhouse is blue. So that's a thing. Apparently it's blue. Okay, 2 more things to talk about. This was sent to me by Debbie. Congratulations, Debbie. I don't know if you watch this, but Debbie is who I learned how to use a blending board from, and then wrote a book called the Spinner's Blending Board Bible, and got her publisher to send me a copy, which I'm like super excited about. She asked me, like, I reached out to her about this, we talked about it, and then it just didn't happen. And I was like, okay, maybe like she forgot, or like maybe the universe didn't cooperate. And then it just showed up out of the blue like last week. And Josh was like, did you order a book? And I was like, no. And then I opened it and I was just like, aha, a present. So if you're not familiar with blending boards help you make rolags, and then you can spin from rolags. And Debbie wrote this like, there's so many pictures. Debbie wrote this really like involved book about like how to make rolags, but also like all the cool things you can do with this. Like this is one of my favorite things to do with my blending board that I learned from Debbie, is to make roving. So you like put your fiber in your blending board and then you diz it off and it helps you make a gradient. This is one of my favorite things to do with my blending board, again, that I learned from Debbie. And it's a really, I've been flipping through it since I've gotten it. Really like cool tips and tricks for what to do once you've made rolags, how to spin from rolags, how to make bats. So if you have a blending board and you don't have a drum carder and you're trying to find ways to like get more mileage out of your blending board besides just making typical rolags, I highly recommend getting a copy of this. I know it's definitely available on her website, so I will try to find a copy and link it. And I'm sure if you just look for the Spinner's Blending Board Bible, you can find it. But I know for sure Debbie has some on her website, so I will find her website and I will link it. And thank you so much for sending this to me, because that was very kind and I'm really, really appreciative. And I can't wait to like really dive in and do some experimenting with the techniques in this. And last acquisition that was fueled by just general insomnia, anxiety, chaos, which, like, you know, life is lifing. And I was talking to one of my friends about this. We'll go for a little bit of a tangent. Like I think the hard thing is we have to be out in the world, right? And we have to be like people, and life life can be hard, but when life is hard against the backdrop of how terrible everything is and the political climate of this country is, it makes it so much harder to just generally bounce back from the day-to-day realities of being a person, right? So like anxiety happens, real life happens, sometimes life happens and it comes at you fast, but I find that like at least for me, my resilience, my ability to bounce back feels lower and lower these days because the micro and macro aggressions of our current administration is just making it harder and harder for me to be out in the world. And so like these last few weeks have just been awful. These last few weeks have just been really bad. And so knitting has been helping because I've just been up and I can't sleep, and sometimes yarn happens. So this is Sheer by Harrisville. And this is in the color Moral. And I did get this to make Alicia Plummer's, my friend Alicia, the Finest Kind sweater, because I've just been drooling over it since she released it, and I've been thinking a lot about it, and I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. I honestly think it might be one of my Rhinebeck sweaters if I can get it done. I love the Sheer line. If you're not familiar with the Sheer line, they're like single, not necessarily single flock, but like small batch yarns that Harrisville does, and once they run out, they run out. So this Sheer is the Wellscroft Dorset, and they had it in 4 colors, and I wanted the darker gray, and the darker gray was sold out. So this is the Moral color, which is like a mid-tone sort of taupe. Yeah, it's not quite like gray, and it's not quite beige. It's like a mid-tone taupe, and I did get enough of this to make the Finest Kind pullover. And this is my first time purchasing straight from Harrisville. I didn't realize they give you a project bag when your order comes, which I was just like, rad. So like now my yarn is going to go in a project bag, and I'm not casting this on anytime soon. I have like summer projects to get through, but once like I think like July hits and like it starts to cool, it's not cooling down in July. Who am I talking to? But once July hits and like I really start thinking about Rhinebeck, I think that's going to be when I cast that on. But I'm putting it away for later. I was really worried about the Sheer line disappearing because a lot of her testers also tested it in Sheer, and I was like, ooh, this is going to go and I'm never going to be able to get this again. And so I got it and I'm stashing it for later. And that's it for acquisitions. Yes, that is it. I'm looking at the floor. I've talked to you about all my all my works in progress. Warps? Is that what we're going to call it from now? All my works in progress. I literally kept my sweater on the entire time. I was like hot in the beginning, and now I'm like settled and chill, and I feel really good. It's a good sweater. And so I think the last thing we're going to talk about is the thing that actually sparks joy, because I had not done it the last few times because I forgot and then I didn't have time. But the thing I want to talk to you about is this video game that I've been having the time of my life in, called Claire Obscura Expedition 33. So if you follow video game news, a bunch of people from Ubisoft left and were like, we don't want to work with you. We're going to do our own thing. And they made this crazy game called Claire Obscura. And the reason it popped up on my radar is because I'm back to playing Elden Ring, and I was talking to my friend about playing Elden Ring and about like struggling with like parrying and getting the timing. And she was like, oh, you might like Claire Obscura because like you kind of have to dodge and parry if you want to live. And so I got this game. It is so beautiful. It is like I routinely just run around and look at the scenery. Also the music in it, it's very French. The game is very French. It's made by French people. All the characters have French names. The music is very French. It's a very French vibe, but I've been playing it. This is one of the first games that I played with headphones. Normally I just play with the music coming off my TV, but I've been playing it with headphones because so much of the timing for like the combat, you kind of need the auditory cues. So I've been playing it with my headphones. And the music is just so pretty. So I routinely run around and I look at the scenery. Also, it is a sad story. Who hurt the people? Like somebody hurt these people who wrote this story, and I just don't understand. So it's a very sad story. But Claire Obscura is great if you're looking for it has JRPG vibes. So if you like a good JRPG, Japanese role-playing game. If you like a good JRPG, it has good JRPG vibes by a studio that has not had a win. I mean, I like whatever. If you like Assassin's Creed or whatever. I think Ubisoft does Assassin's Creed. If you like that vibe, sure. But like, I really like this. I really, really like this. I'm having a good time. It's beautiful. It's available, I think, on all systems. I'm playing it on PlayStation 5. Oh, and the other thing that I have to talk to you about Sparks Joy. Happy Even in Arcadia season to all of you that celebrate. The new Sleep Token album has gotten me around my throat. My Spotify Wrapped is going to be so thrown off by the last week of my life, because literally all I've been listening to is the Even in Arcadia album. I see there are 0 skips on it for me. I listened to the whole thing from beginning to end. And if there is a song that I keep coming back to, it's Gethsemane, because I want to find the person who hurt Vessel and who broke his heart and break their neck. But I listen to Gethsemane over and over. I listen to Even in Arcadia. I like the sad songs. I listen to Even in Arcadia. I listen to Gethsemane, and I listen to Infinite Baths. But like, Provider is a bop. Dangerous is a bop. There are 0 skips. Like, people are just like, oh, what's your top song? I do not rank Sleep Token albums, first of all. I do not. The whole album is a bop. If you like I read like a review, and they were like, oh, blah, blah, not metal. And I was just like, well, is Sleep Token metal? I think they're genre fluid, and I think people want Sleep Token to be a thing, and they just don't want to be a thing, and they're mad. But anyways, I don't know who Sleep Token's for. It's for me. It's for me. I like the Sleep Token Even in Arcadia album. If you like guitar riffs and sad boys and screaming, but also like Gabby and I at Plies and Hellhounds are both huge Sleep Tokens fans, and she described it as music that you can cry while shaking your butt to, and that's Sleep Token. So if you want music that you could do a little groove to while also having your heart ripped out your chest, there you go. There you go. So that's all I have for you today, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed sitting with me for the last hour or so. I think we're about an hour. My camera is going to shut off in the next 40 seconds, so I need to say goodbye. So I think we're about an hour. I hope this helped you get through a knitting chore or two, or if you just enjoyed listening to me babble about yarn and pretty things. And I hope you find space in your life for joy and for pretty things, because you know, they want to take a whole lot from us these days, and by God, they're succeeding. But they can't have this. They can't have this. They can't have this community that we're building. They can't have our fiber joy, and they can't have our yarn. I love you. Go make something fun today.